enlightenment. Om. Okay. We're still going on essentials of life. And there are lots of topics which are the essentials for life. And one of them is called compassion. Okay. And that's what we're talking about. The word itself actually means to suffer together. Well, that's not what we're not supposed to suffer together. But it is actually, compassion is it's when we feel, a feeling arises that when somebody is suffering, that we want to help them. Okay? So whereas with empathy, we can feel, we can compare, we can feel it, but that does not propel us or motivate us to help. So that's the difference between empathy and compassion. Compassion puts us to the point where we want to do something. Empathy, we can relate to the person, we can empathize, we can do all of those, but that's all. Now, the beauty about compassion is that it brings out our natural, innate, nurturing feeling. Now, we're a species that nurtures. We have to nurture all of the children, okay? I would sometimes have a hard time letting them even go out of the house, which they're supposed to, okay? We feel fulfilled when we help someone, and we want to connect with the world around us. So those are all natural feelings. So compassion brings out the natural things without it. And what it means, compassion means helping another person without expecting a return. Okay? If we expect a return, it's a business. It's not compassion. Now, when we have that feeling of compassion, it brings the idea of that we are all one. And that's a very good thing. And life with compassion begins to take on a meaning and purpose. And without it, we are lacking that. Now, very interesting research has been done about compassion. Our heart rate slows down. We secrete the bonding hormone called oxytocin, the region of the brain linked to empathy, caregiving, and feeling of pleasures light up like crazy. And that is what wants us to help someone else. Okay. Now, that right anterior dorsal insula becomes active in our brain when we feel kindness and compassion. And it's the same part that becomes active when we meditate. Isn't that interesting? Okay. It's the same part that becomes active when we meditate. That feeling of wanting to be one is when we meditate, right? And compassion brings that feeling that we need to serve one another. We might not think about it in a global sense, but when it comes out in some people, it's only in family sense. It's okay. And know this, it is our innate nature. Look at any crisis. People that don't, if you saw a child drowning, you would jump in not even thinking that you can't swim or not. It's a natural instinct. It's our nature. People have run into a burning building to save a cat. Not even a human. These are all things that and they don't think until it's over with. And when it's over with, your legs and your whole body is shaking. But at the time, you had more energy than you can possibly imagine to do whatever it took, because it's our innate nature. And what happens when we take our innate nature and squish it? Those are our negative assumptions, our judgment. And that is in our mind, in our own mind. And it does not open the heart. It's not in the heart. What comes from the heart is in your nature. What comes from the mind is what you stuffed in there. And you're responsible for whatever is in there. You put it in there. You have to live with it. And they're not always for our best health either, mental or physical health. Hatred, judgment are a result of feeling that would bring my life or our life comfortable, make our life comfortable. Everything, every judgment, and everything that we have is so that we can feel that our personal life would be comfortable. Isn't that amazing? And what are we doing with that? We're contracting life experiences because we're saying, only if this happens will I feel happy. If I get the new job, if I get this, if I have a better relationship, things will... So what we're doing is we're actually confining ourselves into a small box. And yet life is huge, has so many things we can experience, but we're not allowing those experiences in because we have set our mind that only this will make us happy. So compassion is the one thing that gets people out of it. It's one thing that allows us. Because our mind has set in this concept of, if things happen the way I think they should, that's when I feel happy. This is why we say, and the Buddhists as well, this world is nothing but sorrow. Because we've made it so small. And it's only our mind. It's not our natural inherent feeling. So we are actually removing the wonders of life. We are not even open to the idea of the wonders of life. We are only looking at things that we think we can feel good about. Are you aware of the fact that what you see is only what you think you want to see? You don't always see everything. A simple example is, I just bought a new car, and it has this beautiful gray, light gray. And I don't like the dark gray that I had before. I said, wow, that's a new gray. Haven't seen it on the road. Now it's everywhere. In other words, my mind wasn't open to that color. Okay? So this is how we work around, this is how we are in the world. Isn't that a crime? The world has so much to offer, and we put it together. We confine ourselves. All right? And we create an enormous list of things that should make our life more meaningful. And then when we get some of that list, we realize it didn't fulfill it. One desire leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next, because none of them really fulfill us. When we really look at, really truthfully look at our need for fulfillment, we come to the conclusion our interaction with family and friends are the most important and the most rewarding. Okay? That's if we don't have hatred towards them and we feel compassion. Okay? When people look at people who are about to die and they ask them, what is the most important thing? They would say, I should have spent more time with my family. I should have been more loving. And I shouldn't have worked so much. I should have enjoyed the company of others. All of those things will fulfill our needs more. And anytime somebody gives you a compliment, you feel good. When we interact, we feel good. Now, our happiness comes from within. It comes from the heart center. Compassion asks you to open the heart center so that you're supposed to feel what that person is feeling, and not only that, because that's empathy, but do something about it. Whatever you can do. Sometimes you can't, but you try to do the best that you can and not expect results. This is the difference between the two. Okay? And so let's talk about our own family. If you see somebody hurting in your family like a child, you try to do the best that you can. So we automatically have that compassion towards the ones we love that we think that are going to fulfill our need. It is nature. Nature is to nurture. Our nature is to nurture. Not all animals have the same nature, okay? But we are here to nurture. Charitable organizations push your buttons for compassion. I happen to like the Doctors Without Borders, and they tell you what they do and how they can help and so forth. And that will put the compassion in you so that you will give a financial donation. So that's what it is. Some people give financial donations because of their ego, but we, with the small donations, it comes from compassion. Okay? It comes from compassion. It is a connection that we feel towards the suffering, and that creates compassion. So we need to realize we're all one. We need to realize we're all one. And we need to have the feeling we need to acknowledge the commonality of the human condition and remove cruelty and indifference. This is just humanity, but we're not practicing it. Humanity wants that. Okay? And the only time you don't want that is because you've got problems in your head. In your head, not in your being, because we are one. All religions say God is omnipresent, but none of them say He resides within you. No, the energy of the divine resides within all of us. And so that natural compassion is within us. That natural feeling of oneness is within us. That's all very natural. And that's why in meditation we come to the same conclusion, because we go out of this physical individuality and leave the mind behind and feel the unity. That's why meditation and compassion has the same effect upon the brain and the physical body. Isn't that interesting? So if you want to develop compassion, go meditate. Okay? Now, that's compassion towards those out there. What about compassion to you as the individual? Who's most critical of you? You. Okay. Self-compassion is very, very important. Okay. We love to judge ourselves. We should have, we could have, why didn't we, etc., 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 etc. It is not selfish to be compassionate towards yourself. And we look at it as being selfish. Compassion towards ourselves allows us to be happy with ourselves. And if we are happy and full of joy, guess what? We will reach our potential. We are never satisfied with ourselves unless we reach our potential, which we call dharma. Okay? Unless you reach your potential, you will always have some nagging "nah" in there. Self-compassion is needed. We can, because all these things in that mind of ours has been put in by a lot of outside forces. They're not all ours. Know that. And they need to be, by self-compassion, we can begin to remove some of that hatred, anger, self-criticism, and so forth, because we want joy. Patanjali states it very nicely. The world was created for us to enjoy. Okay? We're supposed to enjoy it. We're not supposed to suffer. Suffering is something that we have done with our mind. It is not inherent in our nature. Oh, people don't realize that. It's not inherent. It is our judgment. It is the junk, excuse me, but it's the stuff we put in there that needs to be removed. When you have joy of your life, when you feel joy in your life, you feel open, and you will feel gratitude, and you will be open to experience life the way it comes to you. Even walking on the pavement and seeing even the little weeds that come through, you're going to look at them and you're going to, that's amazing that you can even live in there. Little things in life will become important. They become joy. When you see a flower, your eyes will sparkle. Just like when you see a baby, your compassion automatically starts and you smile immediately, any baby, even a baby bear. Because we are programmed that anything small like that is not able to take care of itself, compassion will come. That's a natural instinct. But that should be with everything in life. That feeling of love and that feeling of joy around a child. Everybody who sees a baby, they smile from ear to ear. Their whole body wakes up. The whole life is full of joy at that particular time. And then they turn around and then they self-judge and then it all contracts. We need to open up and be out there to experience and enjoy life. And yes, there will be ups and downs, but with compassion to ourselves, we will be able to deal more efficiently with the problems in life. So we have stressors. We have tremendous amount of stressors in life. We have health crises. We have all sorts of things in life. When we have self-compassion, we will have the power to deal with them without taking our energy away, so that we can fulfill our dharma or our purpose in life. Because otherwise we steal. Not having compassion, we steal our energy. Can you believe it? My mind and the way it's programmed steals my joy. If you can look at that and you go, uh-oh, who put your mind together? You did. Who has control over your mind? You have. Nobody else. It is our mind that does not allow that natural instinct, that natural thing that came with us. And know this, every single being, no matter what, every single entity that has energy, which is everything that is created, has one goal that is inherent in them: to go back to the source, whichever way you believe the source is. So all energies want to go back to the source, including us. And to go back to the source, we have to embrace the fact that we are all one. Otherwise, we can't go back to the source. There cannot be hatred. There cannot be only certain people are good, and only certain people who believe in a certain thing can reach that source. No, everything. Every energy wants to go back to the source. And so if every energy wants to go back to the source, and if you really believe that, you take your negative energies and say, okay, hatred, get out of here, go back to the source. You have to release it. You have to take each of these negative energies that you have and release them, to allow them, rather than holding on to them, they release that energy so it can travel back to the source. If it doesn't want to travel back to the source, it will go to somebody else who wants it. Okay? It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So if you feel you have no self-compassion because you have criticism about yourself, fear of failure undermines all of it. Fear undermines everything. And if you know why, then take that energy, because it's nothing but energy that we have labeled, and ask it to release it out of you, to go back to the source. As a matter of fact, I do give a meditation by Michael that does that. Okay? That's very important. Remember, compassion leads us to our full potential. And every human wants to be to their full potential. And when we are not to the full potential, that's when we think that if this happens, it will give me to my full potential. If this happens, and therefore we confine, and life isn't the same way. I mean, life isn't going to give you what you think you should have. It's just not life. Life is very diverse. It can't compress into your little box. It's going to give you this kind of problem and that kind of problem. And if you can live with that and just be open and experience life, good, bad, and indifferent, then that would give you the ability to live to your full compassion. Full potential. So compassion, when I say essentials of life, I mean it. It's definitely an essential of life. And I like to read you a quote by Albert Einstein. A human being is part of the whole called the universe. Not even not even our planet. But he didn't say that. A part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separate from the rest. A kind of optical illusion, delusion of consciousness. This delusion is kind of a prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to be free ourselves from this prison by widening our circles of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. Unquote. Got that? Whole of nature. That means the plants, the animals, the water, the sky. And look at what we've done. Okay? Love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. The Dalai Lama. Okay? So, compassion is a very important aspect of our life. And how do we practice it? We take a look at our mind. Because anytime you have fear, anytime you have judgment, those are the things that contract us. And you don't want to be contracted. Maybe you will not have immediate compassion, but the first thing we need to do is take us out of the box we have created and liberate us and fly free. And then compassion will come automatically. You don't even have to practice it. So how do I get there? By taking away our own personal, selfish ideas of what life should be. And that's how you practice compassion, because then you will open up and automatically do what you can do and what you are supposed to be doing. Because everyone on this planet has a dharma or something that their soul wants to do. And all of that is to serve humanity in some form. So the doctor serves humanity by healing. The architect serves humanity by creating a house. The scientist serves humanity by knowledge. Everyone's dharma serves. Okay? It is not that the dharmas do not serve. Every tree serves us. Every plant serves us. Everything in life is here to serve for others. And while doing that, it is here to enjoy the rest. And if you feel joy in your heart, know that you have become spiritually awakened and that you have cleaned out that junk we have put in there that doesn't serve us. So joy is a very important part of life. Not happiness in the way we think in terms of happiness. I'll be happy if I get the new car and that gives me happiness. No. Joy is something that comes from inside. Joy is something that is there all the time. Even though you might be in mourning, you still will have joy for life. Even though it will give me not so much pleasure at certain times. It will have joy. And that was a very important thing that I saw when I was, oh, you didn't know this. All through high school and the first part of my college career, I worked in hospitals. And there I found people that were all miserable about their sickness. And then there were people who were still full of joy and had all these horrible things wrong with them and the pain within them. And I looked at them and said to myself, how could they still be joyful and have all of these things wrong with them? But they didn't complain. They were thankful if you did anything for them. And they had this beauty about them, even though their physical body was having problems, because it's all up here. It's not in here. And that is something that once you see that, you will also see the energy around them changes, and they change the people around them. Their energy radiates out from them, and the energy and serves humanity just in their own realm. So know this, no matter what happens in life, we can still be joyful to have a life. But pain will be there, and joy, happiness will be there as well, and sadness will be there as well. And with this, I will conclude, and we will chant Om. Om.